Utilico Emerging Markets Trust invests in the energy transition megatrend, and in this piece from Utilico, UEM explored the decarbonisation challenge facing emerging markets. The need for action on global warming has risen up the agenda. Public and private funding for climate change initiatives now average $1.27 trillion in 2021-22. Although large, this is $7 trillion short of the climate finance required. Those allocating capital to finance climate initiatives correspond with those areas who need to combat climate change most. For example, East Asia and the Pacific, responsible for 39% of greenhouse gas emissions and 60% of coal consumption, accounted for almost half of global climate investments. Energy is essential for economic activity, and since the Industrial Revolution, our energy needs have been powered by carbon-intensive fossil fuels. Inevitably, as economies develop, their consumption of oil, coal and gas increases, which is why China has become the largest consumer of energy in the world and accounts for 55% of the world's coal consumption. Whilst hitting net zero targets by 2050 may be possible for Western nations like the UK, hitting net zero remains a challenge for emerging market economies, despite the considerable achievements made transitioning to renewables. China also has the world's second largest population, and UEM say a fairer measure of energy consumption would be on a per capita basis. As you can see, on this measure, China is similar to Europe, and on a per capita basis, the US is by far the most energy-intensive country. These global energy trends are mirrored by CO2 data, which, as you can see, demonstrate the clear link between energy consumption and carbon emissions. Emerging markets have invested significantly in renewable energy over the last 10 years, making enormous progress, although from a lower base. In the US and Europe, installed capacity of wind and solar assets has increased between 2.27 and 3.7 times. In India, it is 5.8 times, and in China, an astonishing 11.1 times. China and India between them have installed almost as much wind and solar capacity over the past 10 years as the rest of the world combined. What is remarkable is that fossil fuels still dominate energy consumption for most countries. As developing economies are industrializing, the expansion in fossil fuel-based electricity generation sometimes still vastly outpaces renewables. In 2022, for example, fossil fuels accounted for 66% of electricity generation in China and almost 80% in India. In summary, emerging market economies face huge challenges to successfully decarbonise and meet their climate policies, and Utilico think that developed nations have a responsibility to support and encourage emerging nations on the journey to a cleaner, greener world. For more insights from Utilico Emerging Markets Trust, please go to the Investment Trust section of the London South East website.